right, guys, you know who it is. We are back launching another Airbnb arbitrage project. This time, we're launching 12 Airbnb arbitrage apartments in this apartment complex, and I'm gonna walk you through the whole build out process that we're going through today. We're a couple of days in, but this is super fun, super exciting. So let's head upstairs, let's take a look at what's going on, and I'll walk you through it. So here we are, 7th floor. So Eric, our lovely cameraman, asked me on the way up, what is Airbnb arbitrage? So allow me to explain. So everyone's familiar with Airbnb and you're probably familiar with real estate investing, but what is arbitrage? So instead of me purchasing a property, I'm gonna rent a property. In this case, rent multiple apartments at one time, right? So instead of buying, we're renting, and we've got that fixed rent cost. So that might be like $1,000 to $1,500 a month for a studio just like this. And what we'll do is we'll rent, we'll furnish it, so we'll invest in the furniture, and then we'll get it live on Airbnb where it will run as a short-term rental, and then we profit the difference. So that's what it is. So this is Dior, my man, building furniture today.
Yo, what's going on?
He's an Eagles fan, I am not, so.
You know what's going on. Yes, sir.
He's a happy guy right now.
Yes, sir.
So,
like that.
So yesterday, a ton of our inventory had come to the building. So we had boxes just kind of filling up the lobby again, as usual. And we organized a group of people to bring the boxes up and then start dispersing them in the correct rooms to make sure everything was organized. So let's kind of walk through the floor and see what's going on. So we're working with our virtual interior designer. Her name is Carol. And what we do is we actually send her floor plans of the individual apartments, as well as photos of like what the interior like renovation style looks like. And she'll come up with a unique design based on our budget, right? Because we're trying to turn over a profit and also make sure that we're not in the hole for a long period of time, usually just a few months. So with that being said, this is very budget friendly. Everything, we're doing it at scale because we're furnishing multiple units. So since we're doing it at scale, we want to buy stuff that we can purchase in bulk. So this is like an example of a studio, for example, that she put together for us. You know, and we're basically ordering from different vendors, Amazon, Wayfair, etc. So if we pop into one of these studios, you can kind of see the work in progress a little bit. So boom, we get all of the furniture boxes in, we break the boxes down, then we have a group of people just build. Now, of course, this isn't done yet. We put up all the wallpaper here, just like in Carol's design. And then when everything's said and done, I think it's gonna look pretty cool. So we came up with a cool, like, retro, mid-century modern design for this project. Let's go head over to one of the 2 bedrooms. We've got a little bit more going on.
Both of us had stuff to adjust. Growing pains, I was making waves in the studio, not drunk in the club. Overseas tours, budgeting funds, not getting paid much. I was opening up.
All right, I was walking to the hallway right now and I actually forgot we did this. So you can see here that we have these brackets that just wire the cameras all the way in to the Ring camera. That way the cleaners never have to switch over batteries and do it, because we had it when they were switching over batteries, but some of the older models of the Ring cameras aren't so good and they die quicker. So it was taking too much time. Then they were forgetting it. They were doing other tasks and we weren't having footage of the proper areas of the hallway. So now we do this pretty much every time to just kind of get this laced over. It looks pretty clean. It's always plugged in. No one really bothers or whatever. Even if a guest unplugged this, it wouldn't die. It still has a battery charge and we would be aware that it's going down and the cleaners would just plug it back in. So that way we'd always have footage and we can check it as well. So I always highly recommend doing this if you're doing apartment unit building style and you want to make sure that you have actual views of all the floors.
So one of our furniture builders has just been focusing solely on the 2-bedroom today. We've got the couch done, accent chair, coffee table, TV stand, desk, all these other bar stools. We got the accent table over there too. And the thing is, like, it's really just a matter of like getting everything into the right rooms, getting them unboxed, and then just trying to work through a room simultaneously. And then the last thing we focus on is like all the handyman work, hanging the photos, hanging the TV, hanging like the floating bookshelves, the hanging mirrors, all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how the project works. And we're really just doing that at scale with a larger group of people. So the more people you have, the harder they are to you know, manage and lead, but the faster you can move through work. So, you know, I usually suggest people just starting out, you know, to work on a smaller project first, maybe like a house that has 2 bedrooms. That way you only need to manage 2 to 3 people at a time. Project like this, you may need to manage groups of 5 to 8 people at a time, building furniture, etc., right? So I've got my man, Yuri. What's up, Yuri?
Hey, what's up, Vince?
Yuri has been cracking down all this stuff. We've got the couch done today, dining table, building out the desk right now, the coffee table, the end table. You're just cranking through stuff today. So yeah, to be honest, like, you know, this kind of furniture, this is like that cheaper like Wayfair, like Amazon type stuff. And you know, we do get some pushback sometimes, like folks that are interested in starting with Airbnb, they're like, okay, you know, I don't want to have to purchase like really cheap furniture. But the reality is like, first off, your return on investment way quicker. Second off, people book based on the photos, and a lot of this stuff, even though it's lower quality, looks fantastic in photos, so it helps towards your marketing. And at the end of the day, they actually hold up pretty well, right? Like these, in almost every single one of our units, we've used Wayfair, Amazon, etc. for the main furniture, and we've rarely ever had issues in thousands upon thousands of stays that we booked. So in my opinion, cheap to furnish, looks great in photos, durable, right? And you know, worst case scenario, if they do get broken, you can replace inexpensively, and sometimes even file a claim through Airbnb to do that because like an item was damaged while a guest was there, right? So all in all, it helps to keep the process low cost, better return on investment. Only downside is all this crap has to get built, right? So Adnan, this is not Adnan, this is one of Adnan's boys. Adnan is one of the mentee students of ours that is also a coach for our coaching company. He one-upped the hell out of us in his units, so check this out. So you just came from our units where we use all this cheap furniture. Adnan goes out to Ashley and buys pre-built like floor plan stuff because he's only furnishing 2 units, right? So he doesn't have to worry about ordering like bulk things at scale. He can afford to run out and pick up stuff, and like look at how good this looks. Like this is way better, like more durable furniture, looks really aesthetic. So I mean, dude, you guys crushed it, honestly.
All right, so this is our storage closet unit area, whatever you want to call it, for our 36 units that are in this building. So in this complex, we're operating out of 2 different buildings. This is literally just all the storage for this entire building. We have 36 units in this building. Now, we did partner with some students on this deal. So some of these storage cages are mine, some of them are other students. We have 6 currently. 6 can hold for about 36 units worth of stuff. Now, these are pretty expensive. So what we did was we actually negotiated to get these a part of the deal. If we could have gotten an extra of like 1 or 2, but it would have been pretty costly to get them. So you want to make the most out of it as you can. And if you can see here, we have all sorts of stuff. It's not super organized. Like we don't have shelving or anything. If we were really pressed from space, then we could also get shelving. You also notice that they're not locked right now. Like everything's here. This isn't a locked, secured room. And you can see all these empty cages. These are actually going to be for tenants to rent out, but currently tenants are not renting them out, so we don't have any locks on these cages. And the cleaners are constantly going in, getting stuff, turning it over, etc. Now, if you don't have these cages and you have a bunch of apartment units in a building, you have 2 options. Well, 2 options. Option 1 is there's usually a closet on the floor that you can convert into a storage closet for that floor as well. It can't hold a ton of stuff, but it can hold enough stuff to give you some ideas. Or what we're having to do in the other building, which I'll show you later, probably in this video, is there's closets inside each of the rooms. We're converting those into mini storage closets for the cleaners, because otherwise the cleaners would have to take all the stuff from here, lunge it across the parking lot, go into the other building to restock, and that's just honestly really inefficient and not a good use of time for the cleaners. So we're just buying latch locks and separating off a closet in each of the rooms for storage for that type of stuff.
This is really cool. You know, it just breaks my heart when a mentee just surpasses us. No, he does a way better job than us, honestly. I think he absolutely crushed it. You know, only hesitation I would have on something like this myself is like, the more money you invest and more time you invest in buying furniture, the longer your payback period is going to be with regards to like generating revenue on the project. But he went and specifically got like floor items that were already pre-built, like as is stuff. So he didn't even spend a lot. But because he's only furnishing 2 units, he could kind of afford to spend his time on that. When we're trying to furnish like 8 to 12, it's way harder for us to do stuff like this with 8 to 12 units. Like imagine the manpower you would need for something like that. Like we couldn't really do that. We need stuff that could just be shipped here, built, everything on site, and we can move quickly. So, but his units look better than mine, I'll admit it. So Lucas is also one of our Airpreneur mentees, and I think it's totally fair that we just force him to assemble fake plants for us on one of these projects. Lucas,
I'm happy to help.
Lucas is actually focusing on these types of deals as well. Like we have certain students that focus on landing like houses type projects where they just get like one single family home at a time. And then we have other students that focus on getting into large deals like this, where they take on 5-6 apartments at a time. So Lucas has, started that recently. He's in the New York area. How's that process going for you so far?
Been reaching out to different property owners and apartment complexes and getting some leads. Looks promising so far.
Cool. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, he's got a deal that he's about to sign right now. 2 units, 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 units, right? So
It's like 4, yeah.
yeah, which is pretty awesome. So excited to get that rolling. But for now, you get to assemble fake plants.
It's
and,
a good learning experience.
and fake grass. So, but yeah, no. Out of curiosity, right? So, what compelled you to want to start with arbitrage as opposed to something like just like regular real estate investing?
Arbitrage, I like the idea of the cash flow without the overhead of the long-term maintenance of owning a property. So, if you were to own like a regular house and rent it out to a long-term tenant, you've got pretty low cash flow, and then God forbid you have a roof issue or something in the foundation or whatever, that kind of maintenance would wipe out like 4 or 5 years of good rental payments.
I've spoken about this a little bit too. I'm like on my personal like rental property, like I've gotten net zero just after all these years, because what ends up happening is just like you said, you finally start to make some cash flow from it, and then one bad expense happens, and that whole your whole collection is depleted. So that pretty much happens routinely. What's your ultimate goal with doing something like this?
I'm trying to just develop cash flow for myself and my family. I'm trying to retire my parents, buy a place of my own. I live in New York, so it's pretty expensive to live out there. Just trying to gain some independence.
Well, thank you for the impromptu harassment from me. I just totally, picked on him while he was doing his thing and bombarded him with questions, but thank you. But yeah, Lucas, doesn't live too far from the project that we're launching right now. Wanted to come by, see how we do it, and we're happy to have him. Thank you for your help, my friend.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. All right, let's keep on moving. The entrepreneurial journey becomes this weird amalgamation of you having to learn different skills, so then you know how to outsource effectively. And that's kind of what leadership is it's like leading by example, failing, experimenting, developing yourself first, and then when you bring people on, you could say, here's what I've learned, and here's how you could probably do what I did better. So it's a tough journey, honestly. It genuinely is. And like even just, I'm a couple years into this journey now too, right? With the arbitrage business, now the coaching business. And guys, it's like, I sometimes see people that get apprehensive to start in entrepreneurship because they're unsure of what path is really theirs. They're unsure if it's the identity they want to take on. And one of the mentors that I had starting out in this journey said, we tend to fixate on the personal identity. Like you are not what you do. It's important to not fixate on what it is that you're doing, thinking that is your identity. You just so happen to be doing it, right? That is the current vehicle that you're in, and you could always jump into another vehicle. So, my objective with this has always been to learn the skills of entrepreneurship, the basic skills, the sales skills, the analysis skills, just the leading teams and organizing project skills, because that's translatable into everything, right? So it's important to just start. Like no matter what the vehicle is, it might be a messy vehicle. If it's e-commerce or Amazon or Airbnb, or maybe you want to actually start like a brick and mortar store or a coffee shop, whatever it is, like you're never going to learn how to do it until you start. And then after you get rolling, that's when you're going to start to figure out like, maybe this isn't the right vehicle for me, but at least I'm already in this, I'm going to make it work. Knowing what you want, right? So it kind of goes hand in hand. But if you know what you want, if you have this vision of yourself that, I've always wanted to build a business around selling a course. I always wanted to build a business around real estate investing. I always wanted to build a business around, whatever it is, even if it's a coffee shop. If you just if you know what it is you want and what you want your life to look like, you can immediately just start pursuing it and allow things to work in your favor. It's amazing how once you have an idea of what it is that you want and you are focused on a particular goal or outcome, it is amazing how like all of a sudden the stars just start to align. You start bumping into people that serve your goal. You start meeting people that like will ultimately help you achieve what it is that you want. And you start meeting people that are supportive towards your goal.
So look, right now I am inside one of my apartment units. I'm kind of planning out everything that's going on for the week, what we have to do, what I have to make sure I don't miss anything. And I've come to some realizations, you know, thinking a little bit more about my entrepreneurship journey and where I've come and really what it took to get to this point so far that I think a lot of people who are starting don't really realize. Here's a really easy to actually understand how productive you are. Like some people think they put 3 hours into learning a new skill, right? Oh, after work, I spend these 3 hours, I do this every day, but I haven't gotten any, results. Well, are you actually even spending 3 hours? Like I challenge you to do this. If you go on Google and you type in stopwatch, I want you to start the stopwatch and keep it running only when you're doing work related to the thing you're trying to improve at. And then every time you look at your phone on your Instagram, every time you go to the bathroom, every time you speak with somebody, every time you eat dinner and you're doing something random, pause the stopwatch and then restart the stopwatch and actually see at the end of the day how much quality work you're actually getting done. See, in an 8-hour day, it's been proven, you can look up, there's studies, most people in an 8-hour day only get about 2.5 to 3 hours of work done. Well, it's incredibly inefficient and all these companies are basically paying you salaries to work 2.5, 3 hours a day. So that's during the 8-hour work shift. What happens after work when you're actually working on your business quest or your new venture, but you have a family, you have things to do, right? You're getting interrupted. How much time are you actually spending on it? Because I bet for most people, they're really spending an hour or less, which is not nearly enough time. Like you need to find a way to be as practical, as economical, as consistent with your time to get the most amount of results as possible. You also need to dedicate tasks to other people. See, if I had to do every single task for my Airbnb business, or I had to do every single task for my coaching business, I wouldn't have any life. I would have no business. I'd be doing everything. I wouldn't be making nearly as much money, or we wouldn't be doing as much as we are because we would be doing every single thing ourselves. You have to eventually at some point give that job to somebody else. Something that somebody else can be trained on, you have to train them. Now first you have to do it yourself, but if it's not making revenue, if it's not something that's actually generating cash, you shouldn't be doing it. So I'll give you a good example. I don't speak to my Airbnb guests. We have a large portfolio at this point. I have multiple virtual assistants that are trained to speak with guests, to help them, to answer all the problems. We have systems in place, trainings on trainings on trainings. I have a leadership structure where I have a head VA and then the sub VAs talk to that head VA, and then that head VA gives me daily updates. And then I give him projects to implement, and he implements the projects. And I spend a lot of time training these people. So having one good A player in your business that's just can work hard in the one area you want them to work is drastically going to improve their business. There's too many of these people out there trying to be solopreneurs. The concept of being a solopreneur isn't real. It's not a real thing. If you're the only person in your business, well, you're capped by the amount of hours that you put in per day. And if we just discussed, most people don't put in nearly enough hours as they think they do, actually focused on their work. So if you want to grow something big, if you want to make more income, you have to get rid of this concept of being a solopreneur, right? We didn't get our first team member in Airbnb till probably maybe unit 4 or 5. I should have done it sooner. If I would have done it sooner, I would have had more time to expand, more time to do projects, more time to do things. My days at this point are consisting of quality control, checking the people that I have working for me, making sure they're good, hiring new people, looking for new talent, looking for people better at me to replace me on the tasks that I'm doing to consistently expand, to build from, and this is how you go from making a few $1,000s a month to 10, 20, 30,000 to 100,000 plus per month in whatever industry you're going, is through this continual process of improvement and expansion. Now let's talk about, obviously some of the benefits of entrepreneurship that I've had, that I've seen, that, in my opinion, outweigh the bad parts of entrepreneurship is one, look, you have uncapped potential as far as financial earnings, because you are only constrained the amount of effort and the amount of responsibility and the amount of team that you're willing to build and bring on. In most businesses, like almost businesses, you can do millions of dollars a year, whatever you pick. Dry cleaners, you could scale dry cleaning business to millions of dollars a year. You could scale a videography business if you have a whole team of people under you and you cater to a specific event and you do high ticket, you do all these things, you can scale it pretty big. So pretty much most businesses you pick, you can scale to the point that you'll pretty much make enough money that you can do whatever you want with. You just and you just have to focus. And that's the great part, is that it's uncapped. Now, obviously this week I'm focusing on doing Airbnb build outs. The great thing about this is I've done this multiple times at this point. So we had everything prepped beforehand. We have our team. We already know what issues are probably going to happen, so we can prepare for those. Of course, there's going to be some stuff on the fly, but it's not going to be a big deal, right? We know what to spend money on, what to not spend money on, what to have people do, what not to have people do, layouts, design, how to make it efficient as possible. So it's really just rinse and repeat at this point. So once you do your first build out or your first 2 build outs, it really becomes rinse and repeat, which is honestly fantastic. And if I wasn't even here and just my business partner was here, I know everything would get done. But of course, I'm gonna be here to help him and focus on this because we're doing this together. Negotiating new deals is always gonna be the thing you can do as an Airbnb business owner that's gonna help you make more money. Once you have your optimizations in place, you have your softwares in place, you have your team in place, you have the systems in place so that your day-to-day is operated without you, then your biggest ROI, where you want to spend more of your mental bandwidth, is how to get new deals and how to negotiate on those deals. A lot of people are actually wondering how to actually set up units like these, do the interior design, how to land a multi-unit apartment deal, 5, 10, 15 units. We established a free Facebook group for you. You can click the link below. If you join that group, you're going to get access to our trainings, weekly lives. We'll kind of walk you through step by step how to find and get your own apartment deals just like these and start making extra money in the next 90 days.